Women during the 1800s were meant to stay home and be a submissive partner in the household. They were expected to maintain a greater level of piety than their male counterparts, contributing to a more pure identity. During this era, women were seen as inferior and unfit to participate in the workplace. Instead, their work consisted of household duties and care for the children they were expected to provide.
Describe a day in your life.
Every morning I wake up and I get my husband's things ready for him to go to work. I'll make breakfast for the children. I'll make sure that they're ready for the day. Kiss my husband goodbye so that he's a good day at work because I know he's out there earning all the money and supporting our family. I will tidy up the house. I will entertain the children. I will prepare dinner, make sure that everything's ready when my husband comes home, make sure my children are occupied so they're out of his way, and that everything is entirely pleasant as it can be, and that my husband will have an enjoyable evening when he returns.
What does your husband do?
My husband is a banker in the city.
Have you ever thought about working as well?
Pardon me, women don't work. No, their place is in the home. Our job is to raise the children and keep the house tidy, and it's my husband's job to go earn a living out in the city. It's not my place.
During the 1920s, most white married women remained in the home, caring for their families and performing domestic duties, while single, widowed, and colored women typically participated in the rise of industrialization by working in factories. Within this period, there was also an introduction to the challenge of conventional behavioral standards for women. Those who opposed these standards were primarily referred to as flappers, women who wore short dresses, went to parties, and drank alcohol. Flappers were often looked down upon, as their actions were considered unacceptable by many. The source of much of this criticism came from other women, who claimed flappers were self-absorbed and unmoral, and that their time should be spent looking after their children and husbands. The flapper movement helped women embrace the social reform that was yet to come.
Have you ever considered joining the workforce?
No, a woman's place is definitely in the home. We're meant to be cleaning and taking up after the children and making sure our husbands are taken care of. There's these women called flappers nowadays that are just parading around in these short skirts with alcohol, which is definitely not allowed now. It makes men crazy, and women just need to be taking care of their husbands and their children. It's just ridiculous.
What is your opinion on women in society?
I think that the role of women in society is far too structured, and that women are just as equal as men. And I think that we shouldn't have our right to have fun taken away from us. I think if we want to wear short skirts, we should go wear the short skirts. And if we want to go to a party, we should go to a party. I think women need to get out of the home and just have some fun, you know?
In 1929, the stock market crashed, plunging the United States into a nationwide depression. As families watched their household income slowly decline, more and more women entered the workforce in an attempt to compensate for losses. These women were subjected to long hours, low wages, poor working conditions, and criticism from those who believed married women should not have full-time jobs outside of the home. Despite these criticisms, women were a crucial part of the workforce in the 1930s, and they paved the way for generations to come.
Despite the stigma associated with women joining the workforce, you have. Why?
Ever since the stock market crashed and we lost all our money, things have been so hard that I had to take up a job to support my family.
What is it that you do?
I work in a textile factory.
How'd you describe your working conditions?
I know it's a lot better than most folks have it, but to be honest, it's not the best. I work long hours. The factory itself is kind of damp, dark. It's hard work. My fingers are rubbed raw from all of it. But it makes money, it pays the bills.
During the 1950s, housekeeping and raising a family remained the predominant ideal female role, but the standards had grown far less rigid. Marriage and birth rates were booming, so the idea of women as wives and mothers rose to prominence. Although the media reinforced this ideal, real-life women were beginning to find fulfillment in things other than housework, such as jobs, volunteer work, and social organizations. The 1970s were a transformative era for women in the workplace. There was an influx of new and amended laws such as the Equal Pay Act and the Civil Rights Act, which terminated wage discrepancies based on gender and outlawed discrimination based on not only gender but also race, religion, and nationality. As society was moving towards equality, women participated. often organizing marches and protests to communicate their views. Anti-feminist backlash against the Roe v. Wade decision contributed to a call for women to leave the workforce and focus on their families. However, women continued to move into the workforce at an increasing rate. As income relative to purchasing power began to decline, women from virtually all social classes began working harder to maintain the same level of financial comfort for themselves and their families as they had previously enjoyed.
What were you making posters for?
I was making posters for the women's strike for equality.
Why are you participating in the strike?
I believe that women should have the same rights as men, especially in the workplace. We deserve to be able to be successful in life without having to rely on men.
How do people you know feel about your involvement in this movement?
My friends completely agree with me. They want us all to be successful. My parents, on the other hand, don't agree with what I'm doing. They're very disappointed that I'm going against societal norms. My mom would much rather me find a husband and be taking care of children.
What do you think you should be doing?
I think I should definitely have the right to be as successful as a man in life and not have to rely on someone else.
Today, female presence in the labor force has increased dramatically, from 30.3 million in 1970 to 72.7 million in 2010. The 1970 census showed very little participation from women as accountants, police officers, CEOs, lawyers and judges, physicians and surgeons, and pharmacists. But women have now progressed to filling these jobs and many others. Although women are provided these new opportunities, the majority of assistants, nurses, and receptionists are women. In addition, unequal pay remains prevalent, as women on average earn 77 cents for every dollar earned by men. Women have made crucial strides, but there is still much to be done to achieve female equality in the workforce.
What is your profession?
I was a Secretary of State and I just finished running in the 2016 presidential election.
Did you win?
No,
Who did?
a man.